Evening and welcome to the Dialogue KE right here at Hope TV. Well, political temperatures in the country is seemingly going up day in, day out. Well, will Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua reconsider his entire public outcry of how President William Ruto's allies in the Kenya Kwanza government are sidelining him and also tone down his Usiguze Mrima phrase that is seemingly getting into the nerves of a couple of leaders in the country who term it as politics of ethnicity? Well, we shall be taking a look on that and later on have a wonderful discussion on why the Dons have decided not to get into any lecture halls in the country. Well, do get in touch with us through our socials at Hope TV Kenya and at Sammy Adika on my X platform. We shall be taking a look on your comments in a couple of minutes from now. My name is Sammy Adika and our sign language interpreter is Boniface Mureithi. Starting us off tonight with our day's top story is that Tana River Senator Danson Mungatana has filed a censure motion against Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua. Addressing the press, Mungatana says the DP has breached the law provisions on how he should conduct himself in office and administer his roles, accusing him of disregarding his oath of office. Now the DP is facing growing isolation amid an alleged impeachment motion, which has served to further alienate him in government and has somewhat resorted to fighting back by endearing himself to the voters through public rallies. Let's listen in to what Tana River Senator Danson Mungatana had to say earlier on.
I'm motivated to file this censure motion against the holder of the office of the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya because of conduct and becoming of that office. The Constitution of Kenya demands that the holder of the office of the Deputy President will be a national figure. We want to remind him in the Senate that he is the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya, and he must carry himself in that manner.
Now, away from that is that KOTU Secretary General Francis Atwoli has slammed Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua for his remarks during his tour at the Wakulima Market in Nairobi earlier last week. Atwoli says the DP should consider his position critical and be at the forefront of championing for the Kenya Kwanza government agenda instead of engaging in a back and forth with his critics. Now, this follows a directive by Nairobi County Governor Johnson Sakaja that required a section of traders in the market to relocate to Kangundo Road Market as a measure of decongesting the Nairobi CBD. Now, a directive that DP Gachagua termed as a plan by the county government to frustrate and intimidate Marikiti traders. Let's listen in.
This city must be clean. When I said like that, he listened to me. Sakaja listened to me, and he said he started with those on Haile Selassie Avenue, hawkers must be removed. Because Haile Selassie is in the CBD. And he gave an order that those hawkers must go to a very well-built market on the outskirts of Nairobi. And that was a good start. But you see the problem when you people go on elections, you elect people who are not exposed. I don't think whether our deputy president is exposed. How do you come to the city to support hawkers? As if you are a deputy president of hawkers. Most of your general secretaries have taken them to Geneva. I go with them. We are the largest delegation in Europe. Everywhere we go. Can ask Joel will tell you. To expose them is not only to attend ILC, International Labour Conference.
Now on to matters education. Chaos erupted earlier in the day at Nairobi Central Business District after police lobbed tear gas at striking lecturers. Several members of University Academic Staff Union, WASU, and the Kenya University Staff Union, KUSU, were arrested as they prepared to present a petition to Parliament, to the Cabinet Secretary for Treasury and CS for Education. The lecturers who are on strike accused the government of failing to adhere to the 2021-2025 Collective Bargaining Agreement, CBA. Public universities across the country were disrupted after WASU and KUSU began a nationwide strike on Wednesday, September 18th. Now, the union leaders have now vowed not to return to classrooms up until when the government fully settles their demands.
Who is this? Who is this? Who is it? That can be equated to a professor. Yeah. Tell me. Nobody. I want to say this, colleagues. Kumbe, you don't know what. Yeah. Tell them. The University Academic Staff Union, the way you are seeing, they have said no. They will say no wherever. And I want to impress upon you, we are not budging. It might get hotter. It might get hotter. All dawns throughout the country, listen to the voice of the union. Can you stop? Join the strike. I want you to intensify this strike. I want you to escalate the strike. Yes. And I want you to upscale the strike. Yes.
That specific story will be forming the basis of our day's discussion. And we are asking, is strike the only language that the government hears best? Well, we shall be taking a look on that later on our day's discussion. And away from that, Interior and National Coordination Cabinet Secretary Professor Kithure Kindiki says that no project launched by the national government will stall at any point. Now, speaking in the company of Road and Transport CS Davis Chirchir during the launch of a construction works on the 44.5-kilometer Engineer Biginano Gathara Tulaga Mbirithi Chuma Road project, the Interior CS noted that the current administration is accelerating the program to complete road projects that stalled under the previous administration due to funding constraints. Kindiki has also urged leaders to unite and work for the electorate instead of focusing on divisive politics.
Umesikia vile amewaambia kiongozi juzi hapa. Sasa ninasikia mnajua wale waliiba ng'ombe ya chifu wangu. Mimi nataka nitoe amri kwa maafisa wa usalama hapa. Mimi nataka kusikia hao watu wako mbaroni, hii weekend walale kwa sela na tuwapeleke kotini, kwa sababu lazima tuheshimu mali na tuheshimu jasho. Hiyo ndio Mungu ametuwekea, lazima uheshimu jasho ya mtu.
And President William Ruto's administration has started committing all civil servants to performance targets to enhance efficiency and effectiveness in the public service. Now, during the 14 days activities, ministries will validate and ratify performance contracts that will be used to gauge performance of all public servants. Now, speaking after a meeting with Cooperative and MSMEs Cabinet Secretary Wycliffe Oparanya, the Deputy Chief of Staff in the Office of the President, Eliud Owalo, says the targets and deliverables are aligned with the key pillars of Ruto's bottom-up transformation agenda, well known as Better Plan. Owalo further lauded the ministry for its achievement, despite being just 2 years old.
Among these are one, promotion of Kenyan coffee. You are aware that coffee has traditionally been a major source of foreign exchange reserve, a major cash crop for this country, and the ministry has committed to promote coffee varieties in both local and international markets through trade fairs to promote the level of coffee that is exported out of this country, so that we get the attendant foreign exchange reserves emanating from that. Two, we have been having the challenge of coffee debts. The ministry has committed that upon verification of the debts this financial year, the ministry will facilitate waiver of debts to the tune of 2 billion shillings, and that has been accommodated within the budgetary provision for the financial year 2024-2025. There has always been this problem of weak governance in the cooperative sector, and as the policy formulation entity, the ministry has committed to strengthen the governance framework within the cooperative sector. And this will be realized through specific interventions, which include dissemination of the code of conduct and ethics to cooperative societies, so that all stakeholders within the cooperative sector get to know the do's and don'ts, and we have an ethical framework, we have an enabling culture within the cooperative sector that supports the realization of the set goals and objectives.
Now, away from the capital, Nairobi, the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission has arrested 2 former West Pokot County officials linked to 296 million theft. Now, the 2 were arrested earlier today by EACC sleuths attached to the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission EACC office in Uasin Gishu County. Now, EACC in a statement said the 2 former West Pokot Chief Officer for Education, Mary Nyoriake, and former Director of Bursary, Matthew Arusio, were processed at the Eldoret EACC North Rift Regional Offices before being detained at the Eldoret Police Station. They will be arraigned in court earlier in this week. Now, with the Commission directing that other 2 former county officials linked to the alleged theft to report to their offices for processing. Well, away from that, President William Ruto has called for bold reforms at the United Nations Security Council to tackle the rapidly evolving global challenges. Now, the president says the current multilateralism system has proven inadequate in addressing crises such as climate change, inequality and debt, and continues to falter in providing any timely solution. Now, speaking during the summit of the future plenary at the United Nations General Assembly Hall in New York, United States, Ruto noted that there is need to redesign the international financial system, strengthening partnership for common security, bridging the digital divide, and investing in human capital.
While no country is immune, many, where most humanity live, are more vulnerable than others. The gravity of the situation has been highlighted by the 2024 Interagency Task Force on Financing Development, which has sounded the alarm bell on a looming sustainable development crisis, driven by financing challenges that jeopardize both the SDGs and climate action. In the circumstances, the upcoming 4th International Conference on Financing for Development may be our last opportunity to make the radical changes needed to realize and realign our development priorities to meet the SDGs by 2030. We must urgently close financing gaps, bridge international divides, and restore trust in multilateralism. However, the current multilateral system is clearly struggling to address these immense, complex, and dynamic challenges effectively. As a member of the SDG Stimulus Leaders Group, which coordinates the mobilization of financial resources needed to accelerate global progress towards 2030 agenda. And as we do our best to achieve this goal, we also must recognize that the prevailing multilateral institutional architecture is dysfunctional, or at least highly ineffective, and cannot be relied upon to provide the solutions for the world that we all urgently need. This is why countries are increasingly turning to innovative, homegrown approaches to solve their most pressing problems. To achieve the SDGs, we must address the structural and financial issues hampering multilateral institutions, particularly their negative impact on developing countries. These challenges include limited fiscal ability, rising debt, unfair credit rating frameworks, and an uneven interest rate regime. In the face of deteriorating global economic conditions worsened by relentless climate crisis, these weaknesses limit the opportunities, especially in low-income countries. Today, 1 in 3 developing countries is at risk of defaulting on their debt obligations. The role of unfair and unjust global financial system is compounding economic crisis and deepening inequalities. Development financing is not keeping pace with the economic realities and urgent needs of developing world. Consequently, the gap between developing world and developing nations continue to grow, creating a form of development apartheid. The Addis Ababa Action Agenda designed to address these challenges has lost momentum, with only 15% SDGs on track.
Well, now on matters sports, the junior starlets are gearing up for the lined-up crucial friendlies that will play a pivotal role in honing their skills in readiness for their debut at the FIFA Under-17 Women's World Cup. The team, which is currently training in Spain, will face Valencia FC women on September 25th, 2024, and Portugal on September 27th, and Intercity on September 30th. Now, the FIFA Under-17 Women's World Cup will be held in Dominican Republic, kicking off on October 16th, 2024, and running through to November 3rd, 2024. The junior starlets will also kick off their group stages matches on October 18th, and against England, they will face Korea DPR on October 20th and complete their group fixtures on October 24th against Mexico.
Spain kumekuwa vizuri sana. Mazoezi tunaendelea vizuri. Na hizi conference zenye zinakuja tunajitayarisha tuone venye World Cup tutacheza. Na sisi tunaona mazoezi iko vizuri.
Tuna train vizuri. Friendly yetu ya kwanza tutakuwa na Valencia. Najua tutajituma, tutawin, na kila kitu itakuwa poa. Hiyo ndio itadetermine ni tuenda kucheza World Cup na pia tutawin.
Well, we shall be taking a short commercial break, but don't forget that tonight we have a wonderful conversation with regards to the ongoing lecturers' strike that has actually paralyzed operations within all public universities in the country. What is happening in our education system? Is there a crisis that the government cannot handle? And is strike the only language that government hears best? Well, we shall be taking a look on that, and joining me will be Dr. John Mali, who is the WASU chairman of National Trustees and also a lecturer at Pwani University. You sure don't want to miss this? Well, make sure you keep it Hope TV. Don't go too far.
Rafiki soul is the promise of a hand that reaches and goes beyond what angaza tumaini kote. I'm forever grateful. Ninashukuru ukarimu, ukarimu. I'm forever grateful. Ninashukuru ukarimu, ukarimu. Rafiki soul is a promise of our hand that reaches and goes beyond watangaza tumaini kote. I'm forever grateful, ninashukuru ukarimu, ukarimu. I'm forever grateful, ninashukuru ukarimu, ukarimu. Rafiki msoul.
Friends of Hope, keeping hope alive.
This week on Hope Devotion.
Jesus is talking to you. If you want to have a great life, he's saying, I want to help you build it.
Join Reverend Bill Pipke as he shares the Word of God on the topic of integrity.
Jesus says, I am the way, the truth, and the life. Jesus was one who spoke the truth with grace. Trust is one of the pillars of integrity. If I can trust you, then I want to build a relationship with you.
Start your day with hope and peace every morning from 6 a.m. to 7 a.m. Hope TV, look and live.
Hope TV is where you look and live, with an excellent selection of the best Christian programming consisting of local and international content of inspirational stories, talk shows, Bible commentary, youth, health shows, children entertainment, contemporary gospel music, extended times of worship, live broadcast, news, movies, drama, Christian ministry programs, and so much more. Hope TV is another quality service from Christ is the Answer Ministries with over 45% of authentic and credible local content every week. Hope TV is a sister station to Hope FM, Kenya's leading Christian radio station with footprints across the country. Tune in to Hope TV, where you look and live.
Hope TV presents News on the Go every day at 4 p.m. for all the breaking news and news making headlines. Hope TV, look and live.
I've actually been trying to find a balance. It's been really tough and hectic, but everyone says once you get a hang of it, it becomes better, and I don't know, but I'm hoping to find a balance soon because it's really been hectic. But you've been in the job industry for a long time, so I think you would know better. Cindy?
Huh? What time is it? I need to catch up on Leadership Forum. Did they have a radio here? Never mind. I brought my own.
No way. You can't be serious. Wait, why do you have a radio and you can just catch up with the shows on Hope FM podcasts?
Really? Even which of the what?
Yeah. I mean, you can find them on whatever platform, name it. AfriPods, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, you name it.
But I'm not subscribed on any of them.
So no worries. You can just check out the latest episodes on hopemediakenya.org.
You can now listen to select Hope FM programs on your favorite podcast streaming platform or directly on our website, www.hopemediakenya.org. Listen and live.
Rafiki soul is the promise of our hand that reaches and goes beyond watangaza tumaini kote. I'm forever grateful, ninashukuru, ukarimu, ukarimu. I'm forever grateful. Ninashukuru, ukarimu, ukarimu. Rafiki soul is a promise of our hand that reaches and goes beyond. Watangaza tumaini kote. I'm forever grateful. Ninashukuru, ukarimu, ukarimu. I'm forever grateful. Ninashukuru, ukarimu, ukarimu. Rafiki msoul.
Friends of Hope, keeping hope alive.
Well, welcome back to the Dialogue KE right here at Hope TV. Do get in touch with us through our socials at Hope TV Kenya. Now, today we did see a number of lecturers right here in the country and capital, Nairobi, being tear-gassed as they were heading to the National Assembly and also the office of the Minister of Education and National, that is Finance. We saw that they were being tear-gassed, but all in all, WASU maintains that they had the permit to peacefully protest. An interesting turn of events right there. They're called knowledge buddies. Now, joining me tonight for that specific conversation is Dr. John Mali. Daktari, karibu sana.
Thank you very much.
Yes. Now, today we saw your colleagues, you included, being tear-gassed. What is your take on that?
Sammy is apparently very appalling. In this country where those who are custodians of knowledge and whom we should keep in high esteem can go through what they went through today. It was a sad day for higher education staff to be tear-gassed by police for something that we had already notified the police in advance about our procession to the various offices that we failed. They needed to be given our notice and our grievances. Thank you very much.
Well, an interesting turn of events right there. Many people are asking themselves, why are lecturers striking? You know, they don't understand exactly why you guys are striking. What are some of the things or other demands that you want the government to address?
Well, Sammy, this is an historical issue that lecturers in public universities have to go through, strikes and strikes from one issue to the other. Let me say that the lecturers are striking purely because they have been segregated by those in authority, particularly our employer. We have a CBA, that is in ABS. We have not been able to be paid our dues as per collective bargaining agreement because public servants undergo a 4-year cycle, which is referred to as collective bargaining agreement. And our collective bargaining agreement that is in contestation is the 2021-2025 CBA, which we gave a notice of negotiation as early as 2020. Yes. Now we are in 2024. They have not been able to negotiate, sign, and implement the CBA. And that is the ball of contention as of today. And therefore, our negotiation with our employer has essentially collapsed. And that's why lecturers, the professors are on the streets, because we feel that something is wrong. Other public servants have been able to enjoy the fruits of 2021-2025 CBA, but only lecturers in public universities, the staff in the universities are still yet to enjoy the fruits of 2021-2025 CBA. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you're talking about the CBA 2021-2025. We understand CBA came into play back in 2013. Initially, there was a different system, which was, I think, after every 2 years, you public servants had to renegotiate their terms. Talking about CBA 2021 to 2025, initially, is there a history of government not being able to honor the collective bargaining agreement?
Yes, to my collection, there's been so many ups and downs in regard to the honoring of CBAs in public universities. Yes. And more so honoring issues to do with the basic salary, house allowance, and other emoluments, yes, as we are supposed to have them. I would like to mention there is a time the lecturers in 2009, they went for 9 months of strike. Yes. Just to honor the CBA then. But our CBA is structured in a 4-year cycle. And actually, as we are talking here, we have been so patient enough. Even the CBA of 2017-2021 has not been fully implemented. We are owed by the government about 8.8 billion. That is for 2017-2021. Now we are talking about 2021-2025 CBA. Yes. And we ask ourselves, as the higher institutions of learning in this country, where are we in terms of ensuring that there is serenity, there is calm, and there is a bit of semblance of peace? But we see things like what has happened today being very, very unfortunate. Yes. Thank you very much.
Now, we also understand that you had negotiations that was last week, which happened to collapse between you and your employer. Right now, we do understand that you had to call the strike. It's on, and initially you're telling us that the previous one took 9 months. Is this one likely to go beyond 9 months?
Well, Sammy, I would like to just enlighten you that we don't like to be on streets. Definitely. Our place of work is at the lecturers, and that is where we are best at. At the streets, we don't want to go. But we are pushed to a state whereby we are finding ourselves going to the streets. On what duration or period of time should we be on this? I don't know. But as a leader of lecturers in public universities, we are ready to go as many months as possible to ensure there is some semblance of order in terms of ensuring the welfare of our members is catered for by this government. Thank you very much.
Now, an interesting response right there. We also do understand that currently the lecturer strike comes barely a week after students decided that they will go back to class since the government formed the entire committee that will review their funding system. Now, that begs the question, is there learning in higher institutions of higher learning, considering that students were on strike right now, the lecturers are on strike, and not only the lecturers, we also have University Staff Union, the KUSU, which also says that our demands must also be met by the national government. What is your employer saying about that? Is it affecting learning in institutions of higher learning?
Virtually in all universities, there is no learning. You know, learning at higher levels of education, the institutions that we have, universities, there must be a serene environment that offers the stakeholders that are involved in a dissemination of research and knowledge to the students to take place. But as we are talking now, there is a lot of noise all over in the public universities. Even though I would have wanted to go to class, there's a lot of noise that does not afford a conducive environment for learning. So I would say there is no learning. And if there is anyone who is trying to say there is learning, there is no learning, because you cannot have learning where there is fear, there is intimidation, and the environment is polluted for that matter. So I would urge the stakeholders still to think what to do with our higher education sector, because there is a serious problem that requires all of us to fix it. And as lecturers, we are willing to sit and ensure that we climb down from the whatever problems that we may be having. Let the government also come with clean hands and tell us how we can build strong institutions of higher learning in this country. Thank you very much.
Now, a quick one. You've talked about you are ready to climb down, listen to the government, and also the government listens to you. But we also have the bone of contention between lecturers and vice chancellors, who are insisting that it is best if you guys go back to class first, then talks begin.
So let me put it this way. I began by saying that we would not want to be in the streets, but circumstances have forced us to be in the streets. This CBA that we are talking about is a 4-year cycle, and we gave our proposal as early as September 2020. And that negotiation was supposed to have started immediately by November 2020 to have concluded, such that by 1st of July 2021, the CBA is rolled out and the benefits of salaries are announced and all that. But as we talk now, there isn't much that is going on in that regard. Now, our climbing down has been the 4 years, 3 years that we have been able to push our employer to come to the negotiations to give us a counter offer. But seemingly, there is no productive counter offer that is coming from the what we call, our employer is called in the Public Universities Council's Consultative Forum, IPPCUF. They have let us down because they have not been able to come to the negotiation table. Sammy, they were forced. We had to go to the court to request that they come to the negotiation table. They dilly-dallied, and the court appointed a conciliator whom we tried to negotiate with. But as of 11th of this month, the negotiation collapsed because they insisted on offering our members zero offer, and actually offering those in management 7%. Now, I would want you to know that universities are mainly run, particularly the academic side, by grade 10, grade 11, grade 12, and 13. Those are the members of academia who are in class, who disseminate knowledge. That for 13, part of 13 and 14 are in management. These constitute the registrars, the DVCs, in research, academic affairs, and so forth. So they offer themselves 7% and offer the other cadre
0.
And this is where we are saying we are not taking it kindly.
Yes.
That's where the ball of contention is. Thank you very much.
They're called knowledge, custodians of knowledge within institutions of higher learning. You've brought in the issue to do with the courts having given you a leeway initially that you negotiate. Currently, the court, Labour Court, that is last week, said, rather called on lecturers to halt their strike and give room to negotiations. But we saw Wasu saying that the court order came after they had issued the strike notice, meaning it doesn't affect the strike. How so?
Well, some of you have said it, that the court order came after we had already, after the train had left the station.
Yes.
So essentially, I don't want to go to that because it is just the way you put it.
Yes. An interesting bit. You know, currently we've seen that it seems that public servants within different unions are coming up in arms saying that we have to strike. Is strike the best way of addressing all these issues? Is it an option since Education CS is saying you wait? Is waiting an option?
Well, I would say this. If waiting can be calculated in the 3 or so years that we have been patient, then that cannot be said. How much more time does the CS1 has to wait? What we are having is what we call reactions in terms of handling things in this country.
Yes.
Where has the CS been for the last 3 years to come and tell us, wait, and how long should we wait? We gave a 7 days strike notice. And that 7 days strike notice was another window whereby you could have brought in the stakeholders involved to negotiate and get things done before we reach where we are today. Thank you very much.
Now, I bring you back a little bit before, during the former CS regime, that is, we did have before the current cabinet secretary, there was a proposal to merge institutions of higher learning in a bid to cut on cost and also to basically enable these institutions be independent, more like independent in terms of financial management. Was it a proposal that would have helped institutions to be able to raise more funds and be able to fund its operations?
Well, I may not be an expert to handle that question because what I see in the higher education sector and what I can tell you today is this. There is no university in this country from the regions where they come from are willing to merge.
Yes.
Why? Because these universities were created based on political basis that every corner of this country wants to have a university named after the community that lives there and to have a pride that they have a university.
Yes.
Well, having many universities has advantages and disadvantages. But I may not be very good in advising either to merge or not to merge. Because we need to look at the issue of the CBC.
Yes.
The CBC numbers that are going to come to the university. Currently at the universities, we are having 600,000 students against a workforce of 10,000.
Yes.
In 2030, we need about 35,000 lecturers. What does that tell you? We need to expand space for higher education. We need to have additional lecturers. brought on board to be able to effectively have proper learning taking place in our institution of higher learning. So that said, I may not, with authority, say either we might or not might.
You've brought in the issue to do with student-lecturer ratio. Currently, we are having roughly 600,000 students within public universities and a workforce of 10,000 lecturers. Definitely, the ratio is not good enough.
Sure.
How is it affecting the quality of education within institutions of Ireland?
One of the bones of contention is not only talking about our emoluments. We are asking the government to come on board and help in infrastructure development in our public universities.
Yes.
Our infrastructural facilities in the public universities are actually wanting. You go to a lecture theater, you find broken chairs and no repairs that are taken. And it's really a pathetic state of affairs. So it is not only the welfare of the staff, but we are also talking about infrastructural facilities. Having better facilities for the learners, our students, so that they may be able to get quality education in this country.
Talking about that issue to do with infrastructure and also developing the facilities that are there within institutions, from your experience and the number of years that you've been within these public institutions, is there a way that universities can generate own income and be able to fund such?
Well, we have tried that method. There's a time we had a Module 2 program.
Yes.
And let me tell you, one of the things that public universities are grappling with has to do with corruption.
Yeah.
And the Module 2 collapsed. And of course, with the research, we can be able to generate income. But it is not the work of lecturers to look for money to pay themselves.
Yes.
Even in high schools, students pay fees. Do you pay high school teachers using the fees collected from students? No. The same applies to other parastatals. They collect money. Are they told, wait, we collect money so that we pay you? And this is what we are saying. Even if we generate money, that money goes to the government. It doesn't come to our pocket. So likewise, we should not be told that the students pay money or we generate money, we pay ourselves. World over, the government invests in public universities. They take care of their members of staff that are teaching in public university, and that is the way to go. Thank you.
Well, do talk to us through our socials at Hope TV Kenya. We shall be taking a look on a couple of your responses right there. But Dr. you've talked slightly about students being able to, the Module 2 that was there back then. Currently, we do have a new funding model that I would just ask you to weigh in. Well, what's your take on this funding model that currently we do expect that the current committee will work properly on?
Sammy, I'm a scientist.
Yes.
And anything that is queer, I don't like to dwell on it. The new funding model looks to have issues before even it starts. Education is an equalizer in life.
Yes.
And any person who has worked hard, whether from poor background or whichever background the fellow is coming from, should be able to enjoy the fruits of a higher education without necessarily being categorized as vulnerable, poor, categorized as rich, middle class. Those bands are negating the aspect of education being an equalizer. Let me make a small light joke about it.
Yes.
If you as a student, Sammy, and you are walking around in lecture halls and you are branded as poor, even getting a young girl to marry in the university is very hard because they look at you, you are already stigmatized.
Yes.
Your self-esteem goes down because already you are labeled in a certain category. So education should be an equalizer. And therefore, as much as we want to have something that works for the university, we should be very careful not to infringe on our bills of rights and our constitution, as well as looking at what the higher education serves to do. And that is making sure that all have equal opportunity to access higher education, as long as you are qualified to have it.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, we're waiting to see what the committee right there that was appointed to ratify that specific funding model will come up with in a couple of weeks. But Dr. You gave us a very interesting figure, 2017-2021 CBA, and what the government still owes you.
Exactly.
8.8 billion Kenya shillings. That is the exact figure you gave us. Now, judging from the government commitment, do you really think your employer cares about your welfare as UWASU members and also KUSU members?
Let me not be in the shoes of my employer.
Yes.
But let me give you the benefit of doubt that the employer is able to do what is required. Sammy, we see in this country money, huge sums of money, not 8.8. We read the newspapers now and then that more than 8.8 money has gone to a particular single direction without proper explanation.
Yes.
How much more are we talking about 8.8? And again, when you look at even 2021, 2025 CBA, it's not that expensive that this country cannot afford.
Yes.
We just need goodwill of the employer to implement the CBA.
Yes.
We have universities that are having delayed salaries. We are talking of universities that are having challenges of pension scheme. As we are talking now, Technical University of Kenya pension scheme has collapsed. So these members, once they retire, where are they going to go? What are they going to live on? Essentially, you are sending those people to a deathbed. We are having challenges of delayed salaries. Jomo Kenyatta University of Agriculture and Technology is having challenges of paying salaries on time. And many other universities are also having challenges of pay. So we need proper investment in higher education so that this country can move. Otherwise, what we are having is not something that we can pride ourselves with as a country. Just to put this into perspective,
yes,
our counterparts in Uganda and Tanzania earn better parts than Kenyan public lecturers. And we ask ourselves, we pride ourselves having a bigger GDP compared to these countries. So where is this pride in terms of ensuring our people are well catered for in terms of their welfare? So the 2021-2025 CBA, we are talking of basic salary, which should be enhanced. All other public servants were given between 7 to 10%. For us, we are yet to enjoy anything in that regard. And we ask ourselves, are we lesser public servants in this country? Again, we are talking of house allowance that was reviewed 18 years ago. House allowance has been a thought to us. It has not been reviewed for quite a... The housing rent in this country, the rates are going up, but we don't have any increment to that effect. we are talking of medical cover. Our lecturers do not have medical cover. We are asking to have universal medical scheme, like the way teachers have universal medical scheme. They go to a higher minute and they are able to get their members, their spouses, their children catered for. We are asking for annual increment. Every public servant benefits on an annual basis, an annual increment on their basic pay. But for us, we have not been able to get an annual increment. We're asking for 4%, it should be 4%, to cushion us against inflation and the vagaries of economic meltdown. So these are things that we are asking the government to look at. Professorial allowances, book allowance. These are things that we need for a professor to be able to disseminate knowledge, to carry out research in a comfortable. And you know, a well-fed person, a well-taken care of person is able to produce more. But what we saw today is not conducive. In fact, even if you take those lecturers back to class, they will not be able to produce. Why? Because their children are in school having challenges. Their dependents are also having challenges. These are some of the things, Sammy, we are telling the government and we are telling the public, look, we are here. What is going on with our higher education sector? Thank you very much.
Very interesting points right there being addressed by Dr. John Mali. Questions that they feel it's time the government addresses issues to do with medical cover, delayed salaries. These are issues that are affecting the lecturers and generally KUSU members' welfare and their ability to dispense their services accordingly, and how the government expects them to dispense their services right there. And he's actually bringing up very interesting bit, or rather question, are they a lesser public servants? Question that if you ponder on closely, definitely you might not be able to actually answer it rightly, judging from their frustrations. Now, is it time for the government to actually reconsider the terms for lecturers and KUSU members within public universities? Well, Dr. as we wind up, what next and what can be done to put these issues of lecturers going to strike from time to time? Is there a permanent solution, or can there be a permanent solution to this, the striking issues?
As long as public servants undergo what we call a 4-year CBA cycle framework,
yes,
then it behoves that the employer should be well aware that now we are in 2024. Next year is 2025. We are supposed to have another 4-year cycles beginning next year, 2025 to 2029. Now, they are all aware of that. Unless now we say we abolish that and we have a different way, but something that is within a framework cannot be easily be quashed. So we need to have committed stakeholders, particularly those who are supposed to be looking at the issues of universities, and that is the employer himself, should be well aware that public universities have a schedule of CBA. We normally negotiate CBAs at the tail end of the 4-year cycle.
Yes.
And this becomes a bigger problem because the employer is having a challenge on how to pay arrears. So if we have commitment and we are committed that we complete this cycle, next year we begin another cycle, it becomes very easy for them that even pay will not have huge arrears like what we are demanding now. So the thing is commitment. The government must be committed to fund higher education sector. And that is the bottom line.
Well, an interesting bit right there. We do understand that there are parents who took their children to first year in universities across the country, and barely 2-3 weeks down the line, their students are back either home or they're just idling around institutions of higher learning, Dr. And some of them are at limbo. What is going to happen? What next? Will we be affected? This right there is your camera. What would you say to such parents? What should they expect? Or rather, what advice do you have to students who are also in limbo, questioning, will we have again to pay school fees come next year? Most of them don't know what to do.
May I amply submit that I know that the studio that I'm in is a studio that exalts the name of the Lord above everything else. And God dictates oppression. God dictates oppression in its format. And I would say this to the parents, that the lecturers have been pushed to a point whereby we are not able to deliver properly our mandate because things are not honored that concern us. And therefore, our students that are watching me, we ask for patience as we